If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW. Let us surprise you.
What's up, champs? Welcome to another episode of the Short Shifts Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Karlsson. I'm your host, Jeremy Versillo, and joining me tonight, my pal and yours, Shams Benamor. Shams, how are you doing this Thursday evening?
It's the second week of fantasy, but I'm slowly just getting back into my method. I talked about having a sketchy goalie and Lion last week, and then now, today, officially, I only have 3 healthy defensemen on my team. So we're early into the season, but I'm like back into my old self. So hopefully this starts, I didn't win last week, but I'm winning this week. So hopefully just getting into this minutia, I can start getting back into the motions.
This may be a controversial opinion, but I actually think this is my least favorite part of the fantasy season because there's so many somewhat exciting guys with new deployment or, Morgan Barron scoring, I think 4 goals already this year. And you look at it and you're like, man, if he keeps this up, he's going to score 100-something goals this year. And obviously he's not. But then you just have the FOMO of missing out on, the breakout free agent that you can add. I remember last year I added Rickard Rakell off of waivers in a bunch of leagues. And I think he ended up as a top 50 player with triple eligibility for last year. And that's just the type of ad that makes or breaks seasons in a lot of cases. And so I'm just sitting here trusting the process, but also in the back of my mind, there's a little bit of FOMO.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right now, no joke. I think I have 4 to 5 forwards that are all in the same minutia of they could be interesting. They have either top power play, top line, or both, but are doing good enough in either expected metrics or actually, but I'm not sold on yet. But all of them are playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday next week. So basically I'm I'm going to have to decide soon which, 3 of these 6 actually matter. And hopefully I'm not dropping the wrong one. So I'm totally with you on that. Working with so little information and then trying to make the most out of it.
It's also frustrating on the other end when you're trying to decide how long should I hold on to this guy? When is he just a drop? And maybe if you wait too long, you cost yourself weeks. And that's what we call a little bit of a teaser, because that's what we do. We'll be doing the second half of this episode. For now, though, let's get into the injury-ouchery section, as unfortunately with hockey happening, players are getting injured. Start off with an ouchery. Jonathan Huberdeau is likely to return for Calgary on Saturday and play his first games of the season. What do you have your expectations set for Huberdeau, Shams? Really,
right now, it's just kind of they could just use anyone with any level of offensive talent. They haven't really been doing much. They have their moments, but right now they're literally hanging on their goalies just to stay in games. So we'll have to see. We don't have any lines, so we don't know where he's going to be placed. But I'm just happy to have more offensive talent on the team, and it might just kind of rise everyone else's quality if, he takes the first line and it's someone that's already on the first line gets to go to the second. And then everyone just kind of has a slightly better deployment because of it.
I'm assuming that he'll hop into the first line with Kadri and Coronado like they were at the end of last year. Hopefully add some value to those 2 guys. I suspect that rookie Matvei will probably get sent down. It's either him or Hanzek would be the odd man out on left wing. So if you're riding one of those rookies, especially Calgary has a good streaming week next week, be careful who you're streaming because somebody is going to be the odd man out there. On to the injury front, Jacob Markstrom will miss a couple of weeks with a lower body injury. That was kind of an interesting game last night where Jake Allen started, didn't come out for the third period. It turns out that was just cramps, and he's starting again tonight. So I guess that game was Tuesday, not last night. And then Markstrom came in for the third period, and I believe hurt himself on the last shot of the game. Like, you could tell that he made a save and was kind of fighting it off, but there were like 20 seconds left. So he finished the rest of the game, and we did not get our emergency backup goalie. But I guess Markstrom is actually hurt, while Allen is starting with Nico Dawes called up to back up. Is this just a add and ride him while you can situation?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that I read that supposedly the coach was talking about Allen is that this is a kind of historical thing with cramps. So it's something that he kind of works through. So something to keep an eye on, that like it might flare up and then we might have a situation where Dawes is only healthy goalie. But right now they gave Allen that long contract, even if the AAV is not that high, that they trust him enough that they'll probably ride him a good amount. And then we'll keep an eye if Dawes gets some random playing time. But right now, Allen's the only goalie, if you're interested in a goalie on this team, because they're kind of like Carolina. They don't allow a lot of shots. So depending on your league format, you might not be interested in any of these goalies at the moment.
I've always liked Allen as a short-term streamer. When he gets the opportunity to play starter-esque minutes, he's usually pretty strong. So I would definitely be looking to add him on teams I need a goalie. Markstrom, just throw him on your IR, and when he's back, he's back. Some other day-to-day type players, Anze Kopitar's a game-time decision, and Darcy Kuemper's day-to-day. Timothy Liljegren went to IR, and Klingberg is day-to-day. Lucas Raymond is day-to-day, and Matt Duchene is day-to-day. Any of those particularly concerning, or anybody getting some interesting opportunity out of that?
So the first one I think is that right now, the ones that we have is that it looks like that Kopitar is a game day decision. So they're playing after our recording, so you'll know a little bit more. So just kind of keep an eye on Twitter or game day tweets and then see what the lines look up if he's not in there. Kuemper seems to be more of a genuine injury. It's because they actually showed some of their hand of like trading back for Copley. Even if it was for future considerations, they thought it was enough to actually bring a goalie back into the system. So I think that one's going to have a little bit of a term. So while Anton Forsberg is not, the greatest goalie, it might be something where you have a person just kind of, if you need someone to eat starts, I could see maybe Forsberg having a couple in a row. And then Raymond and Duchene seem to be short-term. Like, Duchene seems to be really short-term because I believe they even used the words precautionary when he was out today. So, like, it sounds like it was just, like, close enough that he could play, but they just know the season's long. And then also with Raymond, he was fine enough to, like, practice for a good part of today and then got declared out for tomorrow. So I don't think either of those are long. So, like, even if Mason Appleton, of all people, are scoring game-winning goals for Detroit on the top line, hey, if you get a game out of him and you just want a one-game stream, sure, but don't expect that this is going to be something that lasts for a long time.
I agree with you. I don't think any of these are that long-term. The one I will point out that you didn't, that's on the interesting side to me, is with Klingberg being hurt, and everybody knows that Klingberg's made of glass, Dmitry Orlov stepped into the top power play unit, and he was already doing some heavy minutes and peripherals for San Jose. Plus, San Jose has a good schedule next week of Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So if you're looking for a short-term stream, and it looks like Klingberg's going to at least miss Tuesday, Dmitry Orlov, I know everybody's always looking for defensemen. That could be an interesting one for next week. With that, let's take our quick ad break, and we'll be right back with some permission to drop.
Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins with DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite quarterbacks, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payouts. I'm looking at the games right now for Sunday the 19th coming up. Ooh, a big slate. Let's see a couple options here. I guess you can go with Jay Mason, the running back, Jordan Mason for Minnesota. 0.5 rush plus receiving touchdowns. So basically, is he going to get one or not? Maybe. I don't know. You've got to get one, right? Let's take a look at someone else. Maybe Travis Kelce. I know him. Is he going to be the first touchdown scorer? Yes or no? They have so many options here. He's probably going to, maybe not the first. That seems unlikely. I don't know. Anyways, here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. Play just $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. In Connecticut, must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key. And that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Big color, bigger savings. It's Sherwin-Williams' biggest super sale. Get 40% off paints and stains October 17th through the 27th, with prices starting at $29.39. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to start you off with some permission to drops from the patron. Well, they're not really permission to drop. It's more concerns, cold streak, bleeding into lower end, permission to drop. I don't think anybody's going to be suggesting you drop this first guy, who is Nikolaj Ehlers, who does not have a point on the season, despite playing on the top line in Carolina. He was a relatively early draftee in Cupful. I believe he was, he was in like the 50s or 60s. 62 was his ADP in Cupful. So I'm sure people are quite frustrated with Ehlers' lack of production so far. Jams, what can you say about him, though?
Honestly, I have no worry about him. At least the nice thing is that right now, obviously we always joke about Carolina switching their lines, but as of now, they actually kept him and Aho together. So the fact that they're staying together and he is shooting like 5 or 6 shots a game, I am 100% perfectly fine. Like, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I retweeted on Game Day Stats that like they have like the most random points. I think like Blake, Hall, and then like even like other, like a third liner, just a whole host of players just have like 3-game point streaks. So I think it's just one of those situations where Ehlers is playing well. It's just the points are not there. He's getting the deployment. There's no hint of him moving. His time will come.
I agree with you. And another thing I want to point out is he is playing 2.5 minutes more per night than he was in Winnipeg. For the last 3 years in Winnipeg, he played about 1540 to 1550 a night. He's averaging 1813 a night in Carolina. including top power play, like you mentioned. They've actually had a ton of power play time and just haven't really converted. You mentioned the shots. He's averaging 4.3 per game per 3 games. I expect that the good times will come for Ehlers. I think he's in a really good situation in Carolina on a team that will use him well. So if anything, I think this is a buy low opportunity if this cold streak continues any further. Next up, let's talk about a trio of Philadelphia players. Trevor Zegras, Matvei Michkov, and Owen Tippett. There's kind of been a mess of a line shuffle going on there. I can't even tell you who is on which lines, and so that's not helpful for any of their values. I do know that Zegras scored today. Michkov rode the bench for a while last game, but he seems like he's back on a top 6 unit today. Owen Tippett has kind of formed into a bottom sixer in Philly, unfortunately. Which of these guys are you keeping versus cutting?
So actually, I believe it was Tippett that scored off of Zegras. And this is the interesting part, is that I understand that this may be quick and kick-upful, but I cut Zegras because my main strategy was when I drafted Zegras was, okay, he's the center, the team's not great, but based off of preseason, he's going to have either Michkov or Konechny to play with, and I'm fine with one of either. It doesn't have to be both. And then right now, he's playing with Tippett and Dvorak. And you already kind of brought up, hey, Tippett is turning into a bottom sixer. Well, guess who's his line mate? It's Zegras. So that's really my concern. Like, sure, he got like a highlight assist to like a game or two ago, but that was like late minutes, and that was just a salvage, like a 2-shot outing if it wasn't for that assist. And then also, I believe they have like a off night game next week, but like it was Monday for me, and like he was literally on my bench Monday, so I didn't get that assist, and I wasn't going to be able to fit him on the rest of this week and then maybe one game next week. So sure, if your roster set up in a different situation that you could fit maybe one of these guys, I could be open to giving a little bit of rope, but it's hard for me to say, hey, this guy's riding my bench, but he's still good enough for me to roster him. So that's where I have my line, is that like, if you could start him, maybe give another week or so, but if you're questioning if you should be starting him in the first place, I think I give permission to cut because I did it myself.
Interestingly, Zegras is actually the least rostered player in Cupful of the ones we're going to talk about today. He's only 75% owned. Michkov and Tippett are both 100% owned. I personally don't see Tippett as a must-hold either. I would be holding on to Michkov purely because of deployment and upside. I mean, he's line 1, power play 1. He does have, that game-breaking skill that you see at times. If you talk to me in a month and he's still not doing anything, maybe I'll tell you to cut him. But in general, I like to wait until around American Thanksgiving before making sweeping decisions on who's not breaking out this year, which teams are terrible, because we're going to talk about a couple going forward where the teams are just a mess, stuff like that. So I preach a little bit of patience with Michkov personally, and if he ends up on your wire, definitely look to add him. Next up, we've got Jordan Kyrou, who, I don't know, Kyrou is always a bit of a frustrating fantasy own because he's such a good player, but maybe just a mediocre fantasy asset at times. So far through 4 games, he only has 2 assists, 5 shots, a hit, and 3 blocks. He's actually playing less than 50% of power play time. I think he's kind of on the 1B unit right now. And he's averaging less than 17 minutes of time on ice a game. Is this cause for some concern?
I think it's one of those situations where like they basically have 2.5 lines. Like they basically have some interesting players on the third lines, but clearly they have 2 lines that they trust more, and he's on one of them. And even when he doesn't have 50% over of power play time, he's still kind of like close to that 50%. So he's kind of that weird mushy part of like, I'm not happy, but I'm not mad enough to do something about it. So I think he's probably in the worst position, is that like, I'm not sure what I would do with him if I had him, but I just know that I would be unhappy to have him on my roster, but just kind of sit on my hands because this is kind of the worry and why he may have fallen in drafts a little bit more than what his last year's stats showed.
I agree with you. This is just the frustrating part of owning Jordan Kyrou. He looks like he was a 6th round pick on average in Cupful, which I think you're pretty frustrated if your 6th round pick is doing this. You obviously can't drop him. I think he's going to shoot a bit more, but I don't necessarily think he's going to suddenly turn into an 80-point player like he's kind of threatened in the past. If you find someone who's a bit more of a believer, I could see trying to trade him. Unfortunately, it's hard to trade someone who is not playing well, so that may be a bit of a dream. Jordan Kyrou, I love as a player, hate as a fantasy asset. That's kind of my take on him. Next up, we have Mathew Barzal, who has actually scored today. So he now has a goal and an assist in just under 4 games. He's averaging 2.8 shots per game, and he has 4 blocks to go along with that. He's also playing, about his normal 20 minutes time on ice. He actually played 24 minutes last game and 21 the 2 previous ones. So, getting lots of ice time. I actually think Barzal is set up really well to bounce back to the player he was 2 years ago. He had a weak season last year that was a bit injury marred. I'm not worried at all about Barzal. He'd be another buying candidate for me. Do you see this differently, Shams?
I'm in the same boat, and one thing I like to add is that I think his line mate Palmieri is also interesting, as that there's been a couple of situations where Palmieri has hit a post or has had a couple shots that have been nice saves, and then if 1 or 2 of those went in, we'd be seeing a couple more assists. So in general, this line has been doing well from a metric standpoint. And I actually, even though maybe Horvat has the longer history of playing well, is more of the bigger name of the team, I look at this Palmieri Barzal line as line 1. And I think they're still playing well enough that hopefully, even though it's the Islanders we're talking about, so it's not going to be like a superstar setup, that they're still going to perform well enough that you'll be happy to have them on your roster.
What's fascinating is I'm on the Frozen Tool page for Barzal right now, and they have the most common line combinations, which is a bit fuzzy through 4 games. But his 3rd most common line combination is Palmieri, Lee, Horvat, Drew, and Barzal. Meaning I believe that would be goalie pulled 6-on-5 line combination, but the lines have just been so steady that is the 3rd most ice time he's had is with a group of 5 instead of just his normal line mates. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But no, Barzal's one of those guys that is going to get fed ice time by his coaches. The team is going to live or die on how well he plays. And, he's got budding superstar Matthew Schaefer in the defense to help him out. Next up, we've got a defenseman. People want to know, should they be dropping Thomas Chabot? To which I respond with, you shouldn't have been drafting Thomas Chabot. Call me a hater, but he was actually so far down my draft board that I was not considering him at all. So what do you think of Thomas Chabot? Do you have a different opinion?
Basically, I might have a soft spot for Chabot. Basically, my kind of spot is that I'm a fan of second power play defensemen that shoot and block a lot. So my concern is that this today is looking a little bit better, but the fact that he's not shooting, it's kind of my concern. Today he has 4 blocks, which is helping a lot, but I'm not even interested in the assists that he got today because hey, assists, points, that's random, especially for a defenseman that's not the top offensive threat. But right now, what I need to see of him is multiple games with shots and blocks that just give me that floor. Because if you're not giving me that floor, I'm going to be concerned. Because right now, I drafted him in the 10th round. Maybe that's a little bit early, but it's not a premium pick in my opinion. I think I had most of my forward slots already drafted because I didn't draft a goalie yet. So it's one of those situations where I'm not the highest on him, and it was between him and Owen Power that I just was dropping to have his only 3D, and Chabot just kind of made it because he has a game today and another one, I believe, on Saturday. So it's just the fact that he had more games is how he stayed on my roster. So I'm not telling you that you have to keep him, but I would be like finding reasons to like get rid of him. Like, for example, like maybe I might like Mike Matheson more, but like I'm not gonna like say if he's in free agency, I'm not gonna use one of my 4 moves to drop Chabot for someone that's like maybe like slightly better. But if you have a situation where, say, if somehow like Schaefer is in free agency, or you're switching him to a forward that you could fit in 3 games, and you're like, well, the only guy I could drop is Chabot, I'd be perfectly fine with it. But like, I'm not trying to like do lateral moves to get rid of Chabot.
Yeah, I think he's definitely early on my drop list for guys on a roster. I mean, if you need another streamer slot or you see someone who looks interesting, that's an easy drop for me. I don't think there's any reason to expect him to like fully break out. Best case scenario is kind of a bit of what he did last year, which was kind of fringe roster, depending on when you were looking. Also, I noticed through the games he's played so far this year, his time on ice is down from the last 2 seasons. I think they trust some of their other defensemen a bit more. Maybe with the Brady Tkachuk injury, he'll get some more power play time. I don't know. I doubt they move to a 2 defense power play, but I don't know.
So the funny thing is that I might be, and you know, hey, this is just a theory. Don't get mad at me, it's Sen fans. But with these injuries, maybe they'll be in a less of a puck possession situation and might actually have to play defense more, and maybe might actually be the reason why these blocks and hits might actually come more often. But that's not something I'm depending on. But I'm with you. Is that like, just to make sure that I'm not sounding like I'm a lover of Chabot, it's more of just, I'm not like rushing to drop him versus like telling you that you need to keep him, or, you know, if he's on your free agency, just leave him there.
Yeah, this is a permission to drop section, not a requirement to drop section. Next up, we've got Troy Terry. I actually haven't seen much from Terry this year. He's generally a player I avoid, even though it looks like he has good deployment every year. Looks like he's doing about the same as usual, 3 assists in 3 games, like 2.3, 2.4 shots per game. He's playing on the top power play. If you drafted Terry, I don't see why you'd drop him. He's actually playing shorthanded this year, which he hasn't in the past. Is there reason to be concerned here that I'm missing as an Troy Terry outsider?
I think people just don't like him, because I remember I say that jokingly is because he played similarly fine. I forget where his final ranking was last year, but like he was okay, but not great last year. And I remember having to convince someone in my allied chat, like, hey, do not drop Terry. And it'd be like, hey, I have Terry and this like fringe streamer or like person on a hot streak. Which guy should I need to drop because I need to activate someone? And like, I kept on seeing Terry's name just pop up over time and time again. Is that, yes, he's not the greatest. Yes, they play 9 forwards because they just have so many random veterans, but they're all good enough that like, even if you're not with Carlson, sure, you have less forwards, but like they're all fine. So like, basically the idea is this is just kind of your meat and potatoes kind of guy. You're set and forget. You're not going to get something great, but usually you're not going to have the longest cold streak. Now, something to keep in mind is that I believe next week, because I picked up Killor and I noticed this, is that they have 0 off-night games. So it might be a little bit annoying if you're not a fan of Terry and you might have to look into benching him, but generally they have the off-night games. So I'd be fine keeping him. And like, maybe if you're in like a really shallow league and you have like really interesting people to pick him up, but if you're in any league with any depth, let's just say if he was dropped in Cacuffle, I'd be thinking about spending like most of my fab to try to pick him up. If you want to see my thoughts on him, like I'm not going to be happy, but that's a guy that I could see on my roster the whole season.
Interesting. I did notice he is available in, it looks like, 2 Cacuffle divisions, 96% owned. I would certainly be looking to add him if he got dropped. I wouldn't say all of my fab. I would put maybe, a 15 or 20 bucks on him. One thing that's interesting about Terry is I think he's one of those guys that gets the biggest boost from the Ducks schedule imbalance that people like to talk about. Because every year when you're talking about off-night schedules, the Ducks always have a good one. It's, I think, a combination of having the Kings also in town and often not playing on the same day, and some of the other stuff in LA. For some reason, the Ducks always play a ton of off nights. They actually weren't my favorite off-night team this year, but that's beside the point. They still had a very good off-night schedule. That results in certain managers who value that schedule overdrafting or bumping him up the ranks. I wouldn't say overdrafting. That I think it's fair to value that. But just to give an example, his min pick in Cupful this year was 113th, which is round 8. His max pick was 208th, which is, I think, like a 15th or 16th round pick. Like, that is late. So yeah, you're going to get some broad variety of opinions on Troy Terry. I wouldn't really be looking to drop him unless the rest of your roster is really strong, which I think there are some people where if you drafted really well and, maybe you added Frank Nazar or Matthew Schaefer in the late rounds and you're obviously keeping them, Troy Terry may be the worst player on your roster. And if that's the case, you have my permission to drop. But similar to Shams with Chabot, I'm not looking to go out of my way to drop Troy Terry. Got a couple more coming up. Brock Nelson is another one that caught my eye. I think he's another one who got the short shifts bump and scored today. But despite being on Colorado's power play 1, which has been pretty solid so far, I think, he really hasn't done much this year. He has a goal and an assist, 8 shots in 5 games, only 1 power play point. Did we overvalue Brock Nelson because of the McKinnon exposure, or do you think better days are ahead for him?
I don't know. I think it's mostly just I'm just kind of mid on him in general, is that the way the team is set up, we only do basically 3 things, or 3 players. We knew McKinnon was going to be great, we knew Makar's going to be great, and then we knew that Necas was going to get value by being most likely attached to them, but we didn't know how much. After that, everything else is just kind of a question. Now, Nelson does have a benefit and a disadvantage, is that he does have the benefit of probably staying on power play 1 just because he has that face-off ability, so he might get to stick there. However, the play's never going through him. And on top of that, because he's a center, he's never going to see McKinnon at even strength because he needs to be the one on the second line. So it's just that kind of weird thing of just sure, you're on a good team. Sure, you're I don't have anything against Nelson as a player. And he did fine in the previous stint as an Islander, but that was a situation where he was getting maybe leaned on more. If they need points, they're playing McKinnon and HS. They're not bringing out his line when they're pressing. So really the idea is just kind of, are you fine with maybe in a Cats league where the hits and the blocks might fill up some categories, but I don't really have that much interest in Nelson, and I wasn't even really able to really looking at to draft him. So I don't have him in any league, and I'm just be kind of mad on him in general.
The dropping shots totals from previous years is both a bit surprising and a bit disappointing. He's actually playing more time on ice than he was with the Islanders, which surprised me. And his even strength line mates are Nichushkin and Olofsson currently. I think that left wing spot has changed around a bit. So I would say that's not a significant upgrade from Palmieri and Siplikov, who he played with last year. Nichushkin's probably a bit better than Palmieri, but similar style of player. I don't know. Definitely permission to drop. I'm probably not even looking to pick him up if he does get dropped. I feel like if you're adding Brock Nelson, you are banking on him getting a bunch of power play points, which has never really been his strength. And like you said, with McKinnon and Makar taking so much of the air on that power play, that only leaves one other player to touch the puck before it goes in the net. And I would assume that Nelson is kind of playing the net front chaos guy, where he may not get a lot other than the tip-ins. People can correct me if he's playing a different position. But yeah, I don't see him getting more than, say, 15 power play points this year, when on a power play 1, you're often looking for 25 to 30 to be super good in fantasy, especially in Cupful, where power play points aren't even a bonus. Next up, I wanted to circle to Sam Rinzel, who, Shams, you told me I could talk about this one because you weren't really paying much attention to him. I was a big Sam Rinzel drafter this year. I kind of saw, hey, if they give him the Seth Jones treatment because they think he's their best defenseman, he's just going to have a ton of minutes and luck into points and have decent peripherals. While I don't think that's necessarily been wrong so far, his time on ice has been all over the place to the point where it's frustrating. First game he played 25-18, then 19-03, then 25-58. Sounds like a great start. Then the next game he played 14-30, and last game, which was like a big win over St. Louis, he played 18-29 and had 0 points on their 8 goals. It's a bit frustrating. I also noticed last 2 games they've been playing 7 defensemen, which will eat into anybody's time on ice. I can't imagine that is going to be a consistent lineup for them, but they probably just want to get everyone in there and get some looks at Del Mastro and Allen and Levshinov and all the guys that they're considering sending down or keeping. The other key in this equation is Chicago only plays 2 games next week. They play Thursday, Sunday. So I'm having a hard time holding Rinzel after their Friday, Sunday games this week. I think he's going to be, I think the comparison I used earlier to Shams was, I think the best case scenario for Rinzel is 2023-2024 Brock Faber, who was on Minnesota's power play 1, is kind of just a catch a pass, make a pass type of guy. Ended up with, I think, 47 points that year, had a decent amount of blocks, although not many hits, but didn't shoot a ton. And if I remember correctly, I think he was kind of a bottom-end fantasy asset for your team. Like, I don't think he was a streamer, but he was probably your 4th defenseman that maybe you rotated out in a panic. So I'm giving you permission to cut Sam Rinzel. Maybe that's a little bit crazy. I know there are some very ardent Sam Rinzel defenders out there, especially when he managed to beat out both Levshinov and Korchinski, which is impressive to say the least. And also, I just don't think Chicago's as good as they've been the first 4 games. Younger guys often come out a lot faster to start the season. It seems like the young legs pick it up a lot quicker. I think Frank Nazar's been amazing. Bedard's looked like he's really taking a step. Some of the other forwards with them are really picking up the pace. But I also think there's going to be some darker times ahead for Chicago, and I'm not sure if Sam Rinzel is going to be worth holding through those times. I'm okay with cutting him. Anything to add there, Shams?
Yeah, it's one of those situations. It's that, like, that first game got me so interested because I saw the 4 blocks and we're just thinking about, like, how Chicago may not be the greatest team. So maybe they're going to have a situation where they have to play defense more because the other team has the puck. But, like, other than one other game where he had 3 blocks, he had, like, 0, 1, and 1. And then he also has, like, 1 shot on 2 games and then 2 on 2 others. And then, like, a couple of games with 0 hits. So it's like such a scatter shot of peripherals. So if the peripherals were consistent, then you don't need the points to be consistent. But if the peripherals are not consistent and the points are not consistent, you're like kind of in the same situation as like Chabot we were talking about before, of just, sure, Rinzel is being possibly put into more positions. We're just talking about how his minutes are all over the place, but like, kind of in a similar just situation. It's just that we do have at least the benefit of Rinzel being the unknown and probably can blossom, but like the production that he's having right now is not something to be happy with.
I think that if he got a consistent 22 minutes a game, like he's not going to get 25 a game like the first 2 of the first 3 games, but if he was averaging 22 a game, I think he'd be a keep. Just the extra peripherals you can get with 4 minutes of ice time on top of it. I mean, the difference between 18 and 22 is it's almost a 25% increase in your ice time. That's a big difference when it comes to, hits and blocks per 60 and shots per 60 on top of, if he's getting those minutes, he's certainly on power play 1. But until I see that consistently, I'm not too worried about dropping him. 2 more left on our sheet. One is Alexis Lafreniere, who has actually been really good. I don't know if people realize this. He only has 2 points in 6 games, but also keep in mind that the Rangers got shut out 3 of those games and are 1-1 going into overtime today. But Lafreniere in those 6 games is averaging 3.5 shots per game, has 10 hits, 4 blocks, He's playing 17 minutes a game and 71% of power play time. That's likely because Trocheck is hurt. I forget if he was on power play 1 before Trocheck got hurt. It looks like he was off power play 1 the first game and on power play 1 the second game. So maybe he was rotating on and off. But I think this is another sneaky buy candidate, actually. This is someone who was drafted, I think, in the 11th or 12th round in Cupful. He's got a lot of pedigree. If he gets dropped, or if you think you can buy low on him, I would be looking to do this. He's got left wing, right wing eligibility in Cupful. I think this is a really good buying opportunity for someone who has been getting some bad puck luck.
100% agree. Is that like basically, I think it's kind of ridiculous. And like, as I say ridiculous, I see that Austin Matthews just got a power play goal. So now they're stuck with that one goal that I think it was like from like Justus Parsonen, like not even a big name player. So like, what is happening is that they're just getting goalied hard. I know like expected goals doesn't give you fantasy points, but like they were having like in those 2 games that they got shut out, they're either like had like 3 to like 4 expected goals those games. It was just situations where like, you know, Skinner having his patented, oh, I played game bad last game, now I'm going to be a Vezina player this game kind of situation. We know how good Stolarz is as a goalie that they just lost to today. Like, this is a situation where the team is doing the right thing. It's just not getting the right results. I'd actually am more interested in seeing this from a fantasy player than a guy that like plays like 13 minutes, has like 1 shot and 1 goal. Yes, he got me more fantasy points, but I have 0 expectation of that repeating again. This is kind of the same way we were talking about like Ehlers, is that, yes, they have no points, but they're doing everything right. And this is going to be a situation where basically anyone in that top 6, excluding, you know, Sherry, because he's just taking the Trocheck spot, is that I am interested in any of those players. So say if you're in a shower league that like maybe someone gets dropped, or if you're that person like that likes to wheel a deal and trade, maybe this is the time that you know, throw in your hot streak player that maybe you got in the, you know, the 8th round and you want to try to sneak one of the bigger names or try to get someone like Lafreniere off. But like, I would be interested in any of these top 6 forwards for New York.
So of the guys we've talked about today, I know I'm just spending more time when we have one more player to talk about. Of the players we've talked today, would you trade Troy Terry for Lafreniere right now?
I don't have the stats in front of me, but that would be a really interesting, because the thing is I like about Lafreniere is that he is more, now the question is that I think probably the thing that would scare me off is that I don't have it in front of me, is that when Trocheck is back, I know they kind of said they wanted Lafreniere to be on the top power play, but they weren't guaranteeing it. So that's why he was on it before Trocheck got hurt, but not there the whole time. Is that without the guaranteed power play time, I'm not sure I'm willing to buy into it fully. But the fact that we're talking about him, like, I'm not unequivocally saying no at this point, and I think I was a little bit higher on Terry than you were, just kind of shows just my overall thought on him as a player.
I'll go a step further, and despite the ADPs, I would trade any of the 3 Philly guys for Lafreniere right now. Zegras, Michkov, or Tippett.
100%. Like, maybe I should have been sending trade offers instead of dropping Zegras, because I would have broken my mouse if I was offered him for Zegras by clicking yes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like I was going by ADPs and like those Philly guys were up higher, but like I definitely don't value them that high. I wouldn't trade Barzal, Kyrou, or Ehlers for Lafreniere, but that's fine. All right, and the last guy we wanted to talk about, we've gotten some frustrations about Evander Kane, who I believe has a point today, unless West took it away. Through just short of 4 games right now, he's got an assist, only 4 penalty minutes. That's pretty low for him. 7 shots, so just under 2 shots per game. 13 hits, that's pretty good. A block. He's playing on power play 1, or was playing on power play 1, but is not as of the pregame lines today, but only playing like 14 minutes a game, I think. 16, then 18, then 14. So I don't know. What do you think about Evander Kane? Is he a potential fantasy asset or more of a Kiefer Sherwood, Brandon Tanev type banger in those leagues.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that Sherwood's actually doing the same thing but scoring, oddly enough. I don't know, like, I feel like he's the only one allowed on that team to hit and score, so, but either way, is that, like, I didn't end up with Kane and Cupful, but I was, like, kind of thinking about him to take a flyer on, but I think what we're doing is we're kind of seeing what Kane ultimately was, is that without being on the top power play for sure, without getting top line. Now, I like Hedel, but he's not our reason to have a player on the team. Like, you know, so in that way, I would be perfectly fine. Like, for example, while Vancouver had a good schedule this week, I believe, they just have your generic Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday set up next week that, like, if you are unable to stream, or if you're, like, thinking about benching Kane, I would have zero issue dropping him. And, like, in the end, sure, in Cupful, those hits are kind of nice, but they're only 0.25 hit, like, points. If you're in a categories league where that brings value, I'd be a little bit more interested because he has the hits and the blocks and then maybe the chance to follow the points. But for us, we don't value those hits as much, so I would be more willing to drop him in a points league unless those hits are juiced in your league settings.
I agree with that. I also think hits-wise, Kane is going to be below the threshold to completely carry a stat line on hits. Like, Kiefer Sherwood averaged like 6 hits a game last year or something insane. Speaking of averaging 6 hits a game, I have to give a plug for my boy Brandon Tanev, who is averaging just under 6 hits per game. He has 23 hits in 4 games. Also plays Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday next week, along with Friday, Sunday this week. If you're in a Bangers League, grab Brandon Tanev. He's also really fun to watch. Why wouldn't you want to have a guy on your team that you can just get some ridiculous headshots from? And, you know, he plays like the proverbial bull in the china shop, except for in this case, the bull is like just under 6 feet tall. So... And with that, let's head out for the night, but not before Shams has a little bit of news on the Kings for you.
So we're luckily recording just long enough to actually catch the warm-ups, and Kopitar is not playing. And while I know it was wish casting, I'm not getting what I want, but they're just doing the boring. They put Deneau on the top line with Kuzmenko and Kempe. I was just hoping so much to have a Fiala Kempe Byfield line, but no, they're just basically keeping the rest of the lines together and then just kind of putting someone else in the third center and then having Deneau up. So really at the end, Kempe and Kuzmenko, basically, honestly, it's sad to say that Deneau is probably not as much of a downgrade to Kopitar as maybe in previous seasons. So I just kind of see it as moot point for everyone involved. And then you just get to stash Kopitar on your IR and decide later once he's back what you want to do with him if he was actually rostered in the first place.
And with that, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed our show, please consider joining the Keeping Karlsson Patreon group at keepingkarlsson.com/patron, where super supporters receive ad-free episodes and you can interact with Brian, Elon, Shams, myself, the rest of the Short Shifts crew, and hundreds of other talented fantasy managers on our active Discord server. Check out www.gamedaytweets.com to get all the best info from Twitter without having to go to Twitter. This includes team by team and searchable tweets by player name. Visit that site and other great sites we use to research our episodes with at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, and Natural Stat Trick. Our intro and outro music was created by Pat Roach. Until we see you next time, play smart and keep your shifts short.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.